Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a treat for you. It's battle time. That's right, ADP battle. Two of our experts from Ball Logic go head to head when we're talking players in the NBA and where we're taking them this year in our drafts. All this and more right after this. Welcome back to Ball Logic. I'm your host and referee tonight, the Horse, and joining me is a man who has upgraded his potato into a usual camera. He's got his gloves on. It's Malley. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. I apologise for everyone who see me in 1080p. It's a lot to deal with, but I promise I'll try and dim my light down if people get a little bit over seeing this big mug and shiny forehead.
No, I think the comments are going to be littered with mustache ride requests. So happy to see the bright and bubbly face that is Malley perking up our screams and joining us. I'd say some nice things about this bloke, but I don't know whether we can really. It's Matrix. How you doing, mate?
Mate, yeah, and that's fair. The mustache ride comments coming in the chat. I was looking at the stats the other day, and we have a 97.3% male fan base. So I believe everything that you say there, Mick.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's ADP battle time this evening. Like, subscribe, bell. We call it being the triple banger. But also, if you're listening to us on audio, the 5-star review helps us get out into the ears of those that love a little bit of banter along with their NBA knowledge. Also, down below, our Patreon is available for you guys at home. Link is in the description below. For less than a third of a coffee per week, you get analysis, tips, trade ideas, draft boards, the whole lot and more, as well as a WhatsApp group where you've got us 24/7 on tap for all your NBA knowledge. Click the link below to check it out. So tonight, it's ADP battle time. And what we're going to do, bit of a disclaimer for those at home, I'm going to bring up a name, and we've researched these names, and Matrix and Malley have these guys fairly far apart on their draft boards, and they're going to explain to you why they are where they are, and you guys at home get to decide who's right and who's wrong. I'm refereeing tonight so they don't start expleting at each other, but it's you guys at home that ultimately get to decide who wins tonight's debate. So to kick us off, Malley, let's start with the spinny boy, Pascal Siakam. You have him at 43 on your draft board. Discuss.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything in context first, because Matrix has him at 28, and that's absolutely outlandish. Look, the first thing I want to start with was that last year, Pascal Siakam was the 74th ranked player. I know there's no point talking to you, Matrix, about this because you're a man of heart and feels. You don't want my number garbage, but you're going to get a little bit of it here anyway. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong about anything if you can.
Okay.
You can kind of pull me up on. So 74th was where he finished last year, obviously in a very different environment. He was playing alongside two guys who he isn't playing with this year. He's arguably the best person on the team now, but I don't think that he is 28 best. I think that 43 is a pretty fair spot to take him in. Looking at his numbers, he was 0.519 from the field, 73 from the free throw line, which is not too bad for a power forward. 1.6 threes, which will probably, will go up this year. He'll improve on his 20.2 points that he made last year, 6.9 rebounds, 3.4 assists. I'd say he's very dismal. 0.9 of a steal and 0.5 of a block aren't really moving anywhere, but the rest is probably going to go up. The field goal percentage is probably going to go down because he's going to have to take a hell of a lot more of them. Now, I made him sound good, and he is good. So my argument isn't that he isn't going to be the best player on at Indiana, and nor is my argument that he doesn't deserve to be a top 50 player. I just don't think he should be a guy that you're taking with your second-ish pick. There's going to be more focus on him this year, being probably realistically their sole scorer. So they're going to be throwing people at him, which is going to turn the pressure up from what he had last year. I'm thinking a percentage fall. Defense, as I said, really can't fall much further. He was at 24% usage last year, so I don't really think it's going to go up much more than that. Like that's a good little chunk there. That's already quite a bit above league average. So I've got him improving 21 spots on last year. Matty's got him improving 53 spots. Before I let you get a word in, there's two things I want you to consider. You have him ahead of Trey Murphy, Butler, Bam, Zion, Alperen, Scotty Barnes, Fox. I reckon that's a pretty. I can't put him in front of any of those guys personally. And my last final, this will be my little left hook. Maybe just coming right down at the kidney. His best fantasy season was the 18-19 season, where he was 36th, and he is now 31 years of age. So he's over his peak as far as peaks go. And you're trying to tell me that he's going to improve another handful of spots on what his best effort was. Tell me I'm wrong.
Wow, you make quite a compelling argument there, Malley. Matrix, why does Pascal Siakam, the spinny boy from the Pacers, why does he jump 53 places this season?
Well, I know that Malley's a stats guy and loves punting. So straight away, I never look at sole, rank. I start to look at -1 rank straight away. And there you're looking at, the 58th ranked player. Great. That's fantastic. So let's disregard the slander of the 63rd. That's great. And the main thing that you said that he is going to be the best player on this team, and he is. Without Hallie, he averages 21, 7, and 5.4, shooting 58%. Look, I don't expect that 58% to stay. And in all games at Indy, he averages 26 and 3.5. So he gets that real assist bump, those real out of position assists. And that's over a 78 game sample with 1.4 turnovers. Now, I'm not a believer of Andrew Nembhard. I don't think there is a world where Andrew Nembhard and Naismith can really carry it all. Heck, we're talking about guys like Jay Huff starting, Isaiah Jackson possibly starting. Man, like these guys are not going to create basically anything. Everything is going to be created through Siakam, much like Jason Tatum. Look, he has a 32% usage rate. I don't think it's out of the realms that Siakam's usage rate hits 30, hits 29. The extra 2 assists and the bump in percentages and this usage is the reason that I've moved him up into third round value. Just remember from last year, think of all the injured players there's been. You've probably got 5 top 25 injured players. So straight away, I look at some projections from #basketball and Basketball Monster, and they've all got him projected in that 35 to 38 range. Look, I am a little bit higher on him, but just remember, I get one pick in my third round, depending on where I get my pick, and I'm in a lot of drafts. I do think I will be taking Pascal Siakam in that third round. Like I've got him a lot above blokes like Fox and Derek White, who get the same amount of assists in point guard with more turnovers and less efficiency. It's the out of position assists that are beautiful. And to be honest, I haven't been impressed with basically any small forward. You're like, yeah, I'm talking about Scotty Barnes, and you can probably have the same argument with Scotty Barnes in there. But he was quote unquote just shite last year. I don't want somebody there is a world where Scotty Barnes isn't the best player on his team. Pascal Siakam is by clear and away the best player on his team. Honestly, the man could be the only top 100 guy in Indiana.
Yeah.
Well,
that was really nice of you it was really nice of you to let me have the first one. Like, you're a real gentleman. I'll try and help you out later by slinging you a couple, but yeah, that was super kind.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, in the comments, let us know, Pascal Siakam, are you riding with Malley at 43 or are you with Matrix 28 overall? Let's keep a tally because we've got a few coming at you. See who wins at the conclusion of this video. Next is the big man from Philadelphia. Yes, it is not the human stiffy Adembona. It is Joel Embiid. So Embiid for Matrix. We're going to kick it off with you, mate. You've got him at 59 at the moment. Why?
Look, I want to give everybody a little bit of background. I've played in leagues with Malley for 12 years, mate.
Yeah, about that.
Have you ever won, or do you just come second or third every year?
Horse, can we have the next question, please?
Yeah. So Malley is very.
So by popular demand, I have muted Matrix just for a little bit. Malley, you've got 5 seconds to tell me what you want before I unmute him.
Yeah, just if you could blur him out a little bit and maybe just cut that last little bit of footage, that'd be awesome. All right, play on.
Come on then, Matrix, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so Malley is very good at finishing in the 2 to 4 range. He always has a great season. He is very good at fantasy basketball, and somebody that I've probably spent 10 years calling on the way to work to talk about fantasy basketball. But you're not a risk taker, and that's the reason that you don't win. Now, Joel Embiid is a player that will win you a league. And I think in the 5th, in the 6th round, look, we all play in leagues that have an IR. If you tell me that your IR spot is full of a guy that can finish top 10 on a per game basis, that's the reason you have an IR spot. Joel Embiid, yes, everybody's off him. If you've taken him in the first round in the last couple years, you've probably lost. But I think you being so scared of a risk when it comes to Joel Embiid, I don't need to throw you stats when it comes to Joel Embiid. He's the 5th best fantasy player per game if he can play. Now, quite often I hear everybody say, or these podcasters say, I'm not going to bank on injury. So when you get a guy at a 50-place discount from his value, regardless of who he is, regardless of how shit his knees are, you draft him, you sit him in IR. Like the other guys that we have around that 50 base don't even touch the talent of this bloke. Like I'm talking Jarrett Allens, I'm talking Zubac's, I'm talking heck, your Kobe Whites, your Walker Kesslers. Blokes like that aren't going to win you a league. And by drafting Joel Embiid, caveat, in leagues that have 1 or 2 IR spots, could be honestly the difference between you winning and losing a season. He could be one of those players that when you look into the Yahoo stats and they allow it, you can have a look at how many people won the league with Embiid, and you see 70% sitting there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not real happy that your voice came back after the footy, mate. It came back at a suspiciously useful time for you. I couldn't understand you on the phone this morning, and now you sound like an opera singer, bloody Pavati over here, just singing along. Look, you talk about risk taking. There's 2 types of risk taking. There's eating like meagerang with all the toppings, risk taking, and then there's like swimming with piranhas, risk taking. And I'm more of the first type of risk taking. I kind of just I like my risks very minimalized. And you know, like we're digging up the past here, and yeah, we've played against each other for over a decade, and we'd have to average out the scores to see, because although I've probably never come lower than 4th, you've either come 1st or 12th every single season. So you're all in, and if it plays out, good, and if it doesn't play out, it's a blowout. Look, the reason I put him in the position that I put him in, because you and I both discussed the fact that we don't ever call someone like out for the season unless they're obviously not playing for the season. We don't have a don't touch list. We don't have anything like that. Every man's got his price and his position, and mine for Embiid is 120. Just a bit of a look back at his injury history. So last year he played 19 games. Since he's played the 19 games, his prognosis really hasn't improved at all. In fact, it's probably got worse. In 2014-15, he missed the entire season with a broken foot. 2016-17, he tore his left knee meniscus. 17-18, he tore his left knee ligament. 22-23, he tore his meniscus in the right knee. 23, 24, he had to have surgery on both his left foot and his left knee. This guy's whole lower body, like, I don't know. I know there's a WNBA, but I'm assuming somewhere there's also like a disability NBA. And I think that wheelchair basketball might be for him because the top half works beautifully. It's the bottom half that he can't really keep right. I think that unless you are playing in a league that has two IR spots, one that you can use for a guy who's off for 2 games and then back in here and there, and then you can park Embiid in there for the 2 or 3 good weeks that he's going to have spread across the season, that it's just too dangerous having a guy like that. If you pick him with your 4th, 5th pick, which it would be when you're getting into that 59 spot, you really don't want to let him go. He's not like a guy that you're going to pick up outside like mine in the 120s, where if you realize after the first 3 weeks things are going nowhere and he's just sitting there blocking up your channels, blocking up your IR, or God forbid if you have no IRs, he's just sitting in your center spot doing nothing. He's not the kind of guy that you want to let go of because you've paid the big bucks for him, or big enough bucks, and you want to cross your fingers, cross anything that you can cross to try and make sure that you get some value out of him. And I don't like that sinkhole that people get themselves into, quicksand. Like you struggle, you're like, oh, I'll just keep him for 1 more week. Oh, look, he's going to come good come All-Star break. Oh, it's nearly the playoffs for fantasy. I might as well just hold him now. He could come good and win me my playoffs. And I don't want to live like that. I want to live free.
This is interesting. So the fact that Matrix has got him at 59, you've got him at 120, and I would consider not even picking him in a 200 league because someone's going to pick him before I. There is just such a big difference between how people think about Embiid and whether they're happy with 20 games, whether he's going to come back before Christmas. The big thing with Embiid at the moment is Morey's come out and said there's no time frame on his return to basketball. So with those words and Embiid's injury history, for me, that's a recipe for disaster. So just be careful with where you're drafting him at home. But let us know in the comments, who are you going with? Matrix at 59? Don't cut me off. I'm the referee here. Strike biased, one.
And that's bullshit. That's
I'll mute him again. Matrix at 59.
How many leagues have you
Malley
won?
at 120. How did you unmute yourself? Fucking hell.
I can unmute myself. I run this podcast.
It's a bold strategy arguing with the umpire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Fuck him.
Have a look at him. Anyway.
This isn't the NRL, mate.
Yeah, we go from a man that likes to do his top button up on his collared shirt to a man who is going to be running the show at the Miami Heat, at least to start the season. It is Stormin' Norman Powell. I'm going to start with you, Malley. You've got him at 77.
I have. And look, there's only 20 places of difference between where I have him at 77 and Matrix has him at 57. So it's not a huge disparity. This is one of our closer ones. But obviously, the closer you get to your first pick as opposed to your last pick, the smaller the gap really in that lower end still shows that there's quite a bit of disparity. So we're still taking him at nearly 2 rounds of difference here. So Norman Powell played 32.6 minutes last year. He was the 81st best player. He had what most of us, unless you crystal ball like, a season that we didn't see coming. When Kawhi didn't show up for the first part of the season, Powell went absolutely nuts. He scored more than he's ever been able to score before. He was an excellent 2-man. He made the most of his opportunity playing next to one of the best point guards in the league in James Harden. And then injury plus the return of Kawhi Leonard really put a cap back on that. I'm looking here because I have him improving by 4 spots. You have him improving by 24 spots by 2 rounds. To start the season, like Horse said, he is going to be maybe the number 1/number 2 option. But once Tyler Hero comes back, he's going to have the same fate that he found himself in Los Angeles, where he's going to go back to being the 3rd wheel. So it's going to kind of be history repeated. I think that obviously once Hero is back and healthy again, it shouldn't be the same case as Kawhi, where anytime that guy tweaks anything, you never know if you're ever going to see another game out of him again. I'm saying here that he took 16 shots a game in Los Angeles. I don't think he's going to really get close to that playing in Miami. He's another guy too that realistically he's over-glorified because of his percentages and his scoring, and he really does nothing else. 3.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists. He got 1.2 steals, which is a little bit more than pedestrian, but it's the three-pointers a game and the 22 points that really was where he lifted. Free throw percentage at bang on nearly 80% isn't that great for a guard. I just can't see a world this year where history doesn't repeat, and that's why I've only moved him 3 places up. And you could put that back down to the argument you made before, is that we've lost 5 guys ahead of him, so he's just kind of naturally settled himself in a handful of point spots ahead. Yeah, that's pretty much me. I want to hear what you think is going to be the big difference maker this year for him.
Yeah, look, and he was the 81st ranked player last year. And for a lot of the year he was, and like that's over an average of the course of the year. You talk about his ups, you talk about his downs. But we're talking about a team that is coming off the bench at times in a team with Kawhi and Harden. Now that's 21, 3-2, 48% shooting off the bench. Now he starts the year on an all-star projected team in Miami. And let me run this through. We have the point guard Davion Mitchell. For most of those guys at home, relatively unknown point guard that I don't think I'll be looking at within the 150 range. Andrew Wiggins, you might remember this bust from other years on a poor Minnesota team. We've got Khalil Ware. Look, a guy that has become a really good team guy, but not a very high usage guy. And Bam Adebayo, who, again, if we want to poo-poo players, you can have a look at a guy that had a real down year, finished outside of the top 50 last year. I just think that he's a guy that you said, I don't know if he can take more than 16 shots per game. He's going to have to. Like, I can't see Davion Mitchell out here getting, any more buckets. I can't see, much usage increase when it comes to Bam Adebayo. Khalil Ware's not a shooter. Andrew Wiggins is going to be basically defending their best player and scoring 14 points a night. Like, so much rests on this guy to start the year. And I do want to start the year finishing hot. And if we can see him with his ups and his downs still finishes the 80th ranked player, we could see him come out of the gates. And nobody likes to trade more than you, Malley. Like, if he comes out the gate and he's a top 40 player, you are a guy that would try and trade him while he's a top 40 player. I don't understand why you're off him here. Like, genuinely, you even add Tyler Hero into this mix, I still think he's the number 2 guy in Miami. He's as big of a fan as I am of Kasparis. I can't see him taking any minutes off him. Terry Rozier, like, he wasn't even going to be in the league that long ago. JJJ Jaime Jaquez, I think that he is more of a small forward, and I think that Andrew Wiggins is going to not only have to start at the small forward, he's going to be playing backup power forward minutes. Honestly, Norman Powell is going to play so many minutes this year. His percentages have always been good. If you look at -1 rank, he actually improves once you start to take out his guard free throw percentage. He's just a guy that I think is extremely talented, comes into a better situation in Miami. And if he's a top 40 guy after the first 4 weeks, I would not be surprised.
That's a fair and compelling argument that you have there, Matrix, and you are entitled to your wrong opinion. So we'll move on in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, in the comments, did you just champ me?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
-1 to the man with the button that's been buttoned up at the top. That's a shit look. Go Melbourne Storm. Anyway, we're going to move on. We've spoken about the spinny boy, Pascal Siakam. We've spoken about the man that has spent more time in a hospital with injuries than what he has on an NBA basketball court, Joel Embiid. We're talking about Storman, Norman Powell. Now we're going to move into some players who aren't inside the top 100, but might provide some value at the back end of your drafts that maybe you guys at home haven't considered yet, but maybe the difference in your leagues. And we're going to start with you, Matrix. DeAndre Hunter, the Atlanta Hawks legend. You have him at 118. Malley has him at 157. Discuss.
Look, DeAndre Hunter for me entered the chat when Max Struess got ruled out at the start of the year. And again, I've said so many times on this podcast, I want to start hot. You start to be first in the league, and you get 4 or 5 weeks in, and everybody lower than you in the league starts to panic. The guys that think that they're going to start to miss out on playoffs that have started 1-3, 0-4, you start to get these ludicrous trades. And I think DeAndre Hunter will start the season extremely well. Look, 16-6, 2.4 threes and a steal a game. I think that he can return, albeit poor, Mikal Bridges numbers from last year in his worst season ever. I think that that's probably a fair comparison, that, that 96 range to start the year. And can even be a little bit of value at 118, looking at the current depth chart. Like, what have you got? Dean Wade taking minutes of him? He's just a guy that is going to have to soak up a lot of minutes and be out on the floor. And I've heard Horse say that availability is the best ability. I think that this guy's going to have to play 30 plus minutes. And in games that he played above 30 minutes a night in Cleveland, we're talking 23.7 rebounds, 1.5 steals on 46% shooting. That's top 100 value. And look, right now at 118, I'm willing to take that value and honestly run for it. Do I hope that he's still in my team come Darius Garland adding to the roster and Struess starting to come back in the lineup? Look, probably not, but I'm going to be that far ahead of people that aren't looking at Hunter till 150 to worry about looking behind, Malley.
That's not too bad, is it? But I'm more surprised that you're quoting stuff that I've said in the past, mate. So you get your point back now. Congratulations, Malley.
Yay.
Discuss 157. So we've seen him be historically a waiver wire ad when he's running hot, and then we drop him. Why is he still that and not what Matrix thinks, and potentially a late round steal?
Well, ironically, the numbers actually agree as a jumping off point, because Matrix has him at 118th, and he finished last season at 118th. So if we're looking in a vacuum, which I know is not the best way to look at fantasy players, there's so much that goes into rankings, and sometimes we even have to ignore rankings. Not me, of course. I live and breathe by them, but normal people probably do. At 118, he was coming off the bench, and I actually think that was where he does his most damage. He's now in the starting lineup, and I actually think that's a detriment to him, because he is clearly the 5th best option out there. Maybe not Lonzo, but as soon as Garland gets back, he's going to be the 5th option out there. He's going to be standing around and taking up space until everyone else exhausts themselves and goes, I might as well let Hunter get one here and there. Obviously, as you said, and I can't disagree with it, he's going to be higher at the start of the season. I don't know what is Struess's timeline. I'm assuming he's out for quite a bit because, you don't have the deets on that. I'm guessing it's a good amount of time anyway. One thing that I want to ask you, Matrix, here is, before I kind of wrap up, well, I agree with what Horse said. He is and has been historically a waiver wire guy, because he's a points and threes guy. And at 118, I don't understand why you pick him up there when you can wait 3, 4, 5 more rounds and get someone who's essentially going to do the exact same thing. I want to pick up value, and I want to pick up somebody who's going to be able to represent some of those other statistics, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks at that point, before I start just pulling in guys who I think are going to be guys that I'm churning in and churning out. My question to you is, Matrix, you have Rui Hachimura at 159. I don't understand the difference between Rui and Hunter. They are the same guy, just on different teams. Rui's the 5th man on the Lakers, who's going to stand in the corner and bomb a couple and maybe do a little bit of defending. Hunter is going to do the exact same thing, except in Cleveland. Why do you have them? What's that? Quick math. 41 places different. Like, what am I missing? Oh, his mic's gone off again.
Look, I
Oh,
just
no.
don't see like he soaked up. Sorry, he soaked up so many empty minutes last year. Rui did, and yes, DeAndre Hunter is. But honestly, man, we're chatting about DeAndre Hunter, and you might really have a point. I might just move Rui Hachimura up my board a few after this one. So thanks, man.
That wasn't what I was trying to get you to do, but I'm glad that you're doing something.
Yeah, no, man, you've talked me into Rui. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, no drama's cool. What a win for me.
Yeah, well, we can credit that.
You win.
I win
You
to
win.
the good
You win the
guys.
debate on Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, there we go. So comment below. Are you with Malley on that one? Or do you see the upside in what Matrix has brought up on DeAndre Hunter? We've got 2 more for you if you haven't yet. Please give us that thumb. We would appreciate that if you're listening to us on audio. The 5-star review would be much appreciated. That way, it helps us get out into the ears that love a bit of banter along with their NBA knowledge. Onyeka Okongwu is next. Now, there's a fair bit of difference here for you guys. There's 34 spots difference. Matrix, you have Onyeka Okongwu, that's right, at 83. Discuss.
I don't actually. I have him at 117. It's the other way around. But
well, there you
No,
go.
sorry, you've just admitted that you had him at 83. Move on, next guy.
Nah, Malley's got him at 83. I've got him at 117. Wash your mouth out. That would be a shit take from me if I had him at 83. So what do you got there, Malley? Throw it out there. Let's throw some shit at the wall and see what sticks as per usual.
All right. So here's some
Jesus.
numbers, and you can see how you feel about them. So last year he was the 76th ranked player. So I've got him falling a bit behind that. He played 74 games, so he was out there a reasonable amount. He only played 28 minutes. Obviously, he was annoyingly still the backup to Clint Capella for the start of the season before he started to kind of come out from behind his shadow. I love what he does. 56% from the field, 76 from the free throw line. He doesn't shoot threes. He's a traditional big man. 13.4 points in that time is not too bad. It's the 9 rebounds, the 2.3 assists, which I think are going to go up this year, and nearly a steal and nearly a block. I like a guy who can get me one of both, and that's basically what he's going to do here. I know what you're going to try and say, so I'm going to try and hop in front of it.
It's what I'm going to say.
Playing behind. I can just do your argument for you. Just relax and have your beer.
Yeah, cool. Thanks,
he's
man.
gonna he's gonna be playing behind Zinger this year, and Zinger is clearly an improvement over Capella. The thing that I think saves his ass a little bit is that this year I think he's going to play backup 4 and 5. I also think that he's going to play a lot more games starting because for some reason Capella was reasonably steadfast in being able to get out there, where we know that Zinger is probably second to no man in NBA and fantasy basketball for having to miss games for various bits and pieces with his body. The good lords, the good gods in basketball world made someone so perfect in Kristaps Porzingis that they needed to limit his power by having him only play half a season. So I have him falling 7 ranking spots. You have him falling 41 spots. So I think possibly I haven't dropped him maybe far enough, but I can't understand what he has done to personally offend you and your family that you've decided to move him down like 3 or 4 rounds. And you can't put this one down to Jason Tatum and Hallie being out because that only buys you 2 or 3 movement points. I think Atlanta are going to go for it this season. I think he's going to get plenty of run. I think even when Porzingis is healthy, they're still going to limit him and they're going to let Okongwu soak up the physical violence that is being an NBA man in the paint. I just think he's a year older. He's a year closer to his prime. I just feel like my drop-off has allowed enough for the negatives brought by Kristaps Porzingis for the positives that come with age, experience, an improved team, yada, yada, yada.
Anything you'd like to add, Matrix, or as you just?
It's not. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's not often that I expected you to have the argument for me. Krista, look, I'm actually a huge Onyeka Okongwu fan, which I was really surprised when you come up because I thought most intelligent fantasy analysts would have dropped him lower in rankings, and you said that yourself, man. So enter Kristaps Porzingis. Now, where I started last year was Clint Capella did play an average of 21 minutes per night last year. And again, the year before, he played 26.4 minutes per night. And I've said so many times on the podcast that I'm not gonna pick based on injury. And I am so high on Kristaps Porzingis this year. I think this makes Atlanta so much more of a lethal team rather than this undersized center in Onyeka Okongwu. I think if I was the coach, and I'm not, I would lean towards this stretch five, give Trey like a little bit more of a lane rather than having a guy in the paint, have this pick and popper that has been so trendy in the league for winning basketball. Like, remember, Kristaps Porzingis is a champion player. I think the rise of my Latvian prince in this one is the reason that Onyeka just misses out. I think he's a bit hard done by, to be honest. I hope Onyeka can go to a team where he is the number one guy, but the only time that he returns 83rd value, and we've seen the upside, and the upside is 78th, is if Kristaps gets injured. When, like, you hope that if you're drafting hoping people gets injured, like, that's not a game that I want to play. And we hope that he only gets injured for 15 games at a time. So what, Onyeka comes in and gives you top 70 value for that and then drops back and gives you top 130 value after that. Like, you talk about players that you want to draft and not drop at 118 in DeAndre Hunter. I think Onyeka Okongwu as a backup probably is a drop. And it's only because Kristaps Porzingis is such a better player than Clint Capella. I think that they've got their guy. I think he was an absolute steal when they traded for him. And this team, and have a look at it, this team looks so much better with Kristaps Porzingis at the 5. Like, this team, I think, could be a top 4 team in the East when you start to take the Celtics and maybe the competitive nature of Philly and stuff starts to drop back. I see Atlanta as a top 4 team, and I can't see Onyeka Okongwu as a starter playing 30 minutes per night in a top 4 team in the East.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair. Ladies and gentlemen, comment below. Who wins this argument? Is it Matrix or is it Matrix? Let's move on to our last player. Sorry, Malley.
That's all right. You got to have one.
Yeah, he's got to have one. He's lost the last 20. Santi Aldama. So we're talking about the shit show that is at the Memphis Grizzlies at the moment. Jaren Jackson Jr. out to start the year. Brandon Clark injured, unlikely for the start of the year. Zach Edey, he's out till Christmas by all reports. Matrix, you're a lover of all things Memphis basketball. You've got Santi at 108 on the season. Is this because of a large spike in usage and what he's going to do to start the year, or can you seriously see some proper value here for Santi Aldama with the Memphis Grizzlies?
Look, honestly, at 108, I don't even think I'm picking him at value. Now, you guys know in my job, I spend a lot of time driving. I live a little bit away from work, and you guys are the guys that I call when I'm on the road. And it was actually in a conversation with Mick that said to me,
Collusion.
I need to have Santi Aldama higher. And I had him at 118. And Malley saw him on my board at 118 and I started to think when I saw him at 150 that I just thought that this would be the opinions of people. Now, I did not expect to do 2 NBA podcasts in a row this week and mention the great man Stephen Bradbury, but I will be doing that. Now, Mick, you brought up the all the injuries there. You've got Jaren Jackson Jr. injured. You've got Brandon Clark injured. You've got Zach Edey. They start to just become really thin. And it was actually something that you said when I said, Seni Aldama could probably play small forward, power forward. We've seen him say point forward. And you pointed out, man, this guy's 7'1". And then I Googled it. Like, he hasn't always played as a big, but I think that he can defend the power forward spot now that they're in a pinch. And now we're all talking about things that are going to give this guy as an uptick. And look, I might just be dropping the mic on Malley, and it feels really bad to do this because you are a good mate. But last year, coming off the bench a lot of the time, 12.5, 6.4, and 3 assists on 25 minutes a night. Quite often coming off the bench, that was enough to be the 118th ranked player. Now, I look at games that he started, 29 minutes, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4.4 assists on 52%. Like, that's top 100 player. Honestly, that's top 80 value at times while everybody's injured. And his floor is 120. His ceiling is so much higher at the moment with how many injuries are here. You can't let that go through to 150. While he might not be a league winner, I genuinely believe your leagues are won in these later rounds. When you're picking a guy that you can have for the course of the year, when he comes off the bench, plays 25 minutes a night. When he starts, he plays 30. He's going to have so many games where he's going to need to start for this injured teams at the moment. And we're not talking, somebody from Utah, or we're not talking, somebody from Boston, which might be lottery guys that might go out. Like, people are taking Boston, plebs that they're chasing upside at this 120, 100 to 120 range. You have a proven player with upside in a team that's decimated. You can't let this guy go past 120.
Fair argument. 7 foot. He is not 7'1" Matrix, but that's okay. He's a big dude.
But yeah, I honestly didn't believe it. And like, him soaking up minutes at power forward is the reason. And it was you. Thanks, Mick, for the tip.
You're welcome. Malley, you've got him at 150. Why so far back on your draft board?
Yeah, 150 is just a nice round number. And I wanted to, I'd like to have everyone in a position ending with an O, but that's okay. We've got to spread them out evenly between one and however deep we're going. Look, one thing I want to say before I start talking about Seni Aldama is I hate to be the person who has to verse Matrix in the first 4 weeks of the fantasy season, because he's going to have Norman Powell, he's going to have Hunter, he's going to have Seni Aldama. His team is going to be unbeatable. And then when it comes to round 5, he's going to be sending out, well, he won't because this is me, but trying to send out trade requests for these guys. You're like, who's not a threat of losing minutes, touches, usage is Norm Powell, Santi Aldama, Hunter. So I really hope that I have to play him in about week 6. He's going to be atop of the ladder for the first 4 weeks, and then it's all going to crumble apart. I have Santi Aldama finishing the season last year at 133rd. He played 65 games, which is pretty good. So Matrix basically has him jumping up 20. I've got him falling back 20 from that point. I think I can't disagree. I think the start of the season, he's going to be great because it's going to either be him starting or it's going to be like Jock Landale. So it's not really like the toughest of competition. But when everyone is healthy, if that happens in Memphis, in the words of Matrix, we don't worry about what injuries could happen because we don't think like that around here, mate.
These are current injured guys.
Yeah, I don't know. You're being too negative. They're not injured. They're just their bodies are just failing them. So if you look at someone like Seni Aldama, he is behind. He's definitely behind Edey. He's behind Jaren Jackson Jr. He's behind Clark. I would argue that he's behind GG Jackson. I think GG Jackson is one of the future pieces of this team where Santi Aldama's had plenty of opportunity to show out, and I think he's basically done the best he can with what he's got. The only statistic that he is above league averaging is rebounds, and you have him before Alex Sarr, Draymond Green, John Collins, Derek Lively, Wendell Carter, Misi. You've got all these guys that if you're going to pick a guy who basically can only rebound and do nothing else, his turnovers are okay if you're trying to win that category. I don't get why you wouldn't pick Sarr, Dre, Collins, Lively, Wendell, Misi, because they're all going to get more rebounds than he is. They've all got maybe minus, depends. I guess he's in a position to Misi where his season might fall off a cliff if Queen improves. But like these guys, Sarr's not going anywhere. Dre's not going anywhere. Collins, his role will be interesting there. Lively's not going anywhere. Wendell Carter, they're leaving him in that position. I just don't understand why you would pick someone, irrespective. If you blanked out the numbers, if 108 and 150 weren't on the screen, if 133rd from last season wasn't on the screen, and we had no concept of rankings and putting things in order, why you would still pick him over any of those guys, I can't see. I don't know what you're expecting Santi Aldama to do. He'd have to become not Santi Aldama to get a ranking of 108. He'd have to, I don't know, drink some magic potion. What happened to the monsters in Space Jam? He probably needs a bit of that juice or something like that to actually turn into a decent NBA player. I think you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, mate. I think you're a little bit too close to this one, him being in a Memphis jersey. And I hope the same happens when I start to lose my marbles talking about like Devin Vassell or someone, one of my San Antonio boys, that you do what I'm doing for you now and help you bring you back down to earth, because I thought 150 was pretty generous, to be fair. It wasn't even like, look, I'm being a bit rude here. I probably could move him up a little bit. If anything, I'd be moving him down.
Wow.
Mate, you lost me when you said GG Jackson is better than this guy. You just showed me that you don't watch basketball.
Correction, will be better.
Wow.
GG Jackson's also he's also like
in
15.
6 years' time.
Yeah, in 6 years' time, he'll be 19.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is a dynasty podcast.
That is the Memphis Grizzlies, and that is Santi Aldama. So the names that we have gone through today for you: Pascal Siakam, Joel Embiid, Norman Powell, DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu, and Santi Aldama. Please, in the comments below, let us know, are you on Team Matrix with where he's got his numbers, or are you with the tough guy with the best mustache on social media, Malley, and where he's got his players in his draft board? Ladies and gentlemen, in our Patreon, you sign up to the NBA, you get access to all six experts, their draft boards, where they've got everyone. We run mock drafts. We run real-time drafts. There's plenty of opportunities to get involved in ball logic drafting as well. So if you're interested, please click the link below and let us know, and we'll get you involved ASAP. Matrix, before we finish up for this episode, are there any parting words that you'd like to give either our viewers at home or Malley as to why you think your numbers are better than his?
I know my numbers are better than his, so I'm just going to leave the mic dropped after he scrambled on saying GG Jackson was better than Santi Aldama. I just want to say that, obviously, Malley, you have some points. In this case, you're wrong. I actually listened to you on a lot of these. We've picked the ones that are far apart from each other, and probably the best draft board on the internet is our consensus draft board. You start to take Pascal Siakam between 28 and 43, and you start to see that Mick's got him at 38, and you start to see that Braino's got him at 33. And realistically, you've got something that's at 35. And you've got, a little bit of bias from somebody that's maybe struggled with Pascal Siakam in the past, and then somebody that's chasing success with Pascal Siakam, and you get somewhere great in the middle. When you look at Norman Powell and you've got your consensus draft board open when you're drafting, you having him at 77 and me having him at 57, realistically, if you still see him sitting there in the mid sixes, early sixes, I think that you're going to have great success using our consensus draft board to win your leagues, because you've got 5 experts that have taken this deep dive in there, and you're getting it all averaged out. You're taking out bias from people that have maybe drafted Joel Embiid and lost leagues in the last couple, and they've got him at 120. And then you've got people that haven't drafted him that's chasing that upside at 59. And then you're sitting there at your 75th, your 80th pick, and you can take him there, and he's still available. And then suddenly you've got an absolute steal. So I really think the best way to win your draft leagues, and to be honest, we're 2 weeks away from a lot of drafts. The consensus draft board is where you need to be, because to be honest, taking my own bias, I know my own rankings in my head. I think I'm going to be looking at some of these consensus draft boards as well to try and take out some of my bias. So.
Malley, any parting words for us and why Matrix is entitled to his wrong opinion?
No, I agree with you. The big draft board's a great place to start. It's a law of averages, and it'll be a 5 wrongs make a right, because in between all of our different ideas, it will bring something together. Actually, I'm putting a post up on Instagram tomorrow or the next day on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that the 5 of us basically hit bang on the head. So I'd have to feel pretty comfortable about these 7 guys, because they're the 7 that all of us agreed on. So do you want to know one of them now? I'll give you a little sneak peek.
Yeah, please.
At 82, and I think the difference was like one of us had him at 80 and one of us had him at 82. Like it was a difference of 2, was Isaiah Hartenstein. So if you're picking up Isaiah Hartenstein at 82, you're bang on. Like the 5 of us have agreed.
That's great value.
100%. Yeah, 100%. If he doesn't finish the season. The last thing I want to leave everyone on horse, just as they're thinking about who's right, or maybe in this case less wrong between Mattrix and I, is that at the end of last season, I went back to our previous draft board and I had a look through the different rankings between the 5 of us who put our thoughts down. And I don't really want to like sway anyone's opinions about the future, but I actually was the closest to the money on the rankings last year. Actually, that's not fair. Skitty was, but then I was second, and second's still pretty good. And as the Matrix says, he knows that I love coming second. Yeah. I was a comfortable second.
Hang on.
Always the bridesmaid.
We'll sort out the participation award for you, mate. No worries at all.
Thank you, buddy.
Honestly, man, you do sound like a very giving lover if every time you are coming second. So we'll leave it on that.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do us for Ball Logic. Again, hit the thumbs up for us. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you're listening to us on audio, the 5-star review would be much appreciated. Stand by it, because we've got much more coming at you. We've got tiers coming at you. Centers were dropped a couple of days ago. Power forwards are coming to you very shortly as well. Then we've got small forwards, shooting guard, point guard. If you're in Australia, we've got plenty of NBA Super Coach news, draft-wise, and all that sort of jazz coming at you as well. So stay tuned for that. But for today, I've been the horse. It's been shithouse trying to referee these 2 blokes. Matrix on my right, Malley on the left. We'll catch you next time. Cheerio.